Hey, this is Pastor Curry, pastor of the East Zion Fair Baptist Church, Wilmington's most exciting church, the church that love ya, and ain't a thing you can do about it. Last week, we brought on the source and we were dealing with the Torres' situation. Today on Coffee with Curry, we have brought them in so they can come in and in a very slow and a very good manner, share what has been happening. Since we last got together, there have been some movement, and I want to give you all an update because one of the things I do not tolerate, and that is racism, discrimination on any level. And I'm very grateful that so many of you have been calling, so many of you have been writing, and it is getting the attention of everybody. Why? Because wrong is wrong, and we have to always correct it. Why don't you call somebody real quickly? Tell them Coffee with Curry is on, and let's get after it.
Good morning, Delaware and surrounding areas. You are now tuned in to this week's Coffee with Curry. Join us every Sunday at 11 a.m. with new guests every week. So grab your cup of coffee and join us on Coffee with Curry.
And we're back. Well, today is one of the first times that I have to really have my notes in front of me because so much have happened. We had an opportunity to have some conversations with individuals. And today I have, as I share with you, are Mr. and Mrs. Torres, who live in the 1800 block of Delaware Avenue. And, I'm shocked to hear that most of the people who I've been talking to are saying, why are you surprised? The eighth district is what it is. And I say, well, I don't want to, classify a district as a certain way. But Ms. Torres and Mr. Torres, let's start off by saying welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I I had an opportunity today to speak with the captain as well as the chief, the captain of that area of the eighth district area, and the chief, and very good meeting too, by the way. Uh, but what I want to do is before we get into all of that, is to get a feel for how are you all doing right now. We've been through a lot, but how are you doing right now?
Overall, I mean, it's still a stressor. Um, so nothing has really changed.
Mhm.
They haven't said anything physically to us per se since all of this has taken place since the last incident. However, the child is affected.
Mhm.
He's had a conversation in school with one of his friends. And his friend said, hey, I know it's hard to not think about it. However, try not, to focus on that. It's sad that people are like that. Basically, look for a positive out of something that you and your family had to go through, man, that's, negative. And kind of like tried to pick him up and giving him encouraging words on how to deal with and cope with the situation. So I learned this last night when my husband and Sam they were home playing basketball. And so on the walk home from the basketball court, he shared that. So that was, surprising that he did share it. So I was actually kind of proud
Yes.
because for him to see that everyone isn't like these people that we live around, the two women that we live around, everyone isn't like that.
Yeah.
And it affected him last week in school. Did receive a couple of calls after the chain of events. However, I told him focus on keeping your grades, keeping your honor roll,
Yeah.
doing what you want to do, surround yourself with your friend who gave you the positive encouragement out of it.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure you all heard what she shared. He is a honor roll student, and I'm so proud of him, and for his wisdom, even the friends that he associate with, to be able to give them that kind of encouragement that this was a negative, but let's find the positive anywhere near it so that we can continue on. Mr. Torres, I laugh when I think of you because I know that you have really learned discipline because you've taken a lot. And the reason why I say I laugh is because I know this is not the Torres of 10 years ago. Uh,
Absolutely.
so to be able to really have grown to the level that you have, some of the people who know you in the city, I'm proud of you and I thank you for showing us how you can reserve yourself. But how are you doing?
I mean, I'm all right. I'm just tired.
Yeah.
You know, get up in the morning. I feel like I feel like I was 20 years ago. I keep looking back, keep looking back. You know what I mean? And I mean, I ain't gonna let nothing happen to me, but I'm real uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
It's to the
interesting.
point where I don't even want to park in the back because she might come out and say something, and then
Wow.
I just try to avoid it.
Right.
So I park up front, up the street, wherever, go out the front door, get my vehicle, and go to work.
Yeah. And that's so sad because you live in a community where you should be able to enjoy your family. I mean, God has blessed you so tremendously. You have a wife who works very hard with you, as well as a son who's doing exceptionally well. And I think that's really important.
That's like yesterday when I came home from work. I said, well, on my way home, I said, I'm going to the basketball court.
Yeah.
And I ran into a good friend of mine, childhood friend there,
Uh-huh.
which he's up in the city, high rank too. And we, played basketball, discussed some things, and he was even shocked. He was like, "Wow."
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
And people don't really know. And I'm grateful for, before we even get into the case, I'm just grateful that you all handled it the way you did. The note taking, the proof, and the camera footage that you all provided was unbelievably strong and good. Today, I had an opportunity to meet with the chief of police and Campo, and he honestly, I've never met him before that I am aware of, and I thought it was an exceptionally good meeting. I didn't expect him to say much, but I was shocked that he stuck with what he considered to be truth. And one of the things that he said is he needed time. He see the case, he understands the case, but he needed time. So before he got into any of his details, one of the things I did was I asked the captain who was there as well. And that was the captain of that district, 9th district area. And I asked him, I said, now the Torreses, they have provided us with all kind of proof. They showed us video, they're showing us audio. They've done everything they needed to do to prove that they have been harassed, discriminated against, and racially profiled. I said, could you please share with me, this is me talking to the captain, what proof do you have? And I named the things that she was accusing you of, like harassment. What proof do you have? He could not provide me with any. I said, what proof do you have that they scratched up her car? Is the car still scratched? He had no proof. I asked, what kind of proof do you have that they were squatting?
Or most recently, we were smoking marijuana.
Well, I haven't gotten to that yet. I said he had no proof other than you weren't, because when the city was called, which tells me they did follow up, when the city was called, you were legally able to be there. What proof do you have that he is a foreigner called asking for his papers? That bothered me. He says, well, that's how it ended up. Because to believe that he's a Mexican and not a Puerto Rican is really damaging. And second part, why would you dare believe that he's illegal? Is that what you're going to get him on? Is that what you're trying to get him on? What proof do you have that he's smoking marijuana in that home? Although it is legal now to do that.
Yeah, but I haven't smoked in 23 years.
You don't have to justify yourself. But what proof do you have, Mr. Police Officer? And he had no proof. What proof do you have that his music is loud? And I was told they, THEY, and I had to remind them that I am a credentialed 6th-degree person. You can't say they to me. Give me the they. And it ended up being one person, which is this woman who is the attorney who put the complaints in that you'll play your music loud. But there was no proof of that. I just didn't understand, to both of you, because I did my homework. Why is it that you all have to go through all you went through and all she has to do is make these accusations? And they are being verified, whether it's true or not true, and everything has been found not true thus far. Why is this so? And I could not get a real answer from that. But that's what I want our audience to hear today. Why is it that if you are a person of color, you have to prove yourself? But when you are not a person of color, you can make accusations and it's very much believable. Now, there was another thing that happened, and that was the Bar Association.
Yes.
you went right to them saying, "Look, she's a lawyer. She's doing me wrong. She's treating me wrong." I hope they're not calling him now. But anyway, that's all right. That's all right. And you told them that she was harassing you, discriminating, and things of that nature.
Yes.
They responded to you.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So a couple of weeks later, April the 11th actually is when we got the email of the dismissal.
You said dismissal.
Yeah, dismissal.
Okay.
So
Did you give them any proof or facts or anything?
absolutely.
Okay.
So we sent them the video footage from our cameras. Also emails from our homeowner back and forth between ourselves. And actual still pictures that were taken by our child when they were either walking the dog or leaving in the morning. So they had all of this proof. Um, so basically, the Bar Association said they dismissed it on the basis of she's not a lawyer representing my husband or myself. And basically, that normally a Delaware lawyer does not act in manner in which Ms. Wolishan did. She regrets acting in that manner.
They apologized for her?
They stated that they spoke to Ms. Wolishan and she apologized to them and said she regrets acting in the manner in which she did, approaching my husband, the profanity, and she just lost it when she felt as though she was deceived by my husband and the city inspector.
I'm going to make sure that you all get a chance to see this letter because I read it and I was mesmerized to believe that they would take the time to apologize on her behalf. Who made her the judge and jury to be able to say whether or not your husband lied to her and gave her the right to call him a rodent, gave him her right to call him a piece of stool? Who gave her that right? And they apologized. In Delaware, you mean to tell me this is probably why African Americans can't pass the bar too much in Delaware because it's not designed for them.
Not at all. Yeah, absolutely. So they did send us that letter, and immediately my husband was like, I don't even want to read it no more. He was livid.
Yeah.
And which I understand him being livid because we took the proper steps and channels that we knew how, and we've given you the evidence. And because she was not an acting lawyer for my husband or myself, you're still saying a lawyer in this caliber could go ahead and do what they want to do and get away with it. Whether she's representing us or not, she's still someone who is supposed to serve and protect.
Yeah, but if you think about it, she was the assistant district attorney, which means how many of you colored people are in jail because she misrepresented you when you thought you had somebody you can trust?
Well, she worked for child services too at one
Oh my
point.
gracious.
So yeah, she started off here in child services back in the early 90s.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm doing all of this. I've already had my conversations, and I'm doing all of this because I want you to hear and to see. When people tell you, I saw even on CNN this week where this new Republican African American brother is running to about America is not a racist country. Obviously, he has not run into certain pitfalls that some of us run into quite often. What they are going through is unhumane. We're talking about, and I'm going to go to a break in a minute, but we're talking about the American Bar Association, the Delaware chapter represent, and they had the audacity to respond to your letter of charges with proof.
Yes.
That she's sorry for having a tangent party.
Absolutely. The Office of Disciplinary Committee stated that.
We have the letter. I'm not going to let her come on this show and just make all kind of accusations against people. I read the letter, and I'm going to make sure you get a chance to see the letter because it's important that you see how people are treated when they're trying to do it right. If Mr. or Miss Torres would have struck her, what was your language? You would be at Gander Hill. Is that what you said?
I'll be at Gander Hill with a ransom bail.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Let me move this a little bit further with this letter. When you got the letter, how did you? Was there anything that said maybe you can respond or appeal or anything like that?
When I called to question certain language, which was in legal terminology of a lawyer. I don't have that degree. However, if I don't know something, I'm going to call and ask clarification. Well, that's a Wilmington police matter that needs to be handled through the Wilmington police, is what we were told.
Hmm.
So we both then said, okay, left it as that. We'll continue to call the police like we've been doing. Other people that I do know that are in the lawyer field, they stated don't feed it, just keep pressing the issue with Wilmington police. File another complaint with the bar eventually. If you keep your cameras rolling and keep catching her, eventually she will be disbarred. But what is eventually? When does eventually come? Um, we've been more than patient, more than tolerant. We've turned the other way, turned the other cheek. We did everything in a civilized manner, in a respectable manner. Um, and that was basically to keep both of us from being locked up, because had it have been us, we would have already been arrested.
Absolutely.
Charges would have already been pressed. We would have actually been looking for an attorney.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, let's go right to the police department, because that is something that I had a conversation with the chief today. And I want to talk about a little bit more of that, because at this point, something has to happen. We'll be right back. And we're back. Well, we're having this conversation with the Torreses because they have certainly walked into the face and through the door of true racism that is found right in the 8th District here in the city of Wilmington, Delaware. We've been talking about racism for a very, very long time. And it seems like, unless you have proof, if what happened to them would have happened just 5 years ago, we probably wouldn't have the level of proof that they have. As a matter of fact, I don't even think the woman even knew that they had Ring cameras. Because if she was that crazy, then that means this is bold, outright racism. But I was glad that y'all had the cameras. Let's talk a little bit about my conversation I had today with Chief Campbell. How do you say his name again? Campos, okay. He did share with me that he knew you. And he wanted to receive your call, and you said, well, he did that after you had Councilman Trippy to let him know that you was getting frustrated.
Absolutely. I called him. He reached. I called Trippy. Then he called me. I mean, he said, give him a chance, give him a chance." But I'm just tired. It keeps going on. It's been on since February 16th,
Mm,
and I feel like I'm a prisoner in my own house because I don't want to walk out the door and get in trouble.
right. I feel you. And people have to understand where you are, because some people are like, well, why is he talking like that? Because when you are sitting in a situation where you can be lied on and it is already believed, you are a prisoner. And that's something
I
you
was
don't.
already lied on
Oh, yes. We haven't gotten to that yet. Well, you mean about with her?
with the car. No, with the car situation when I was at work.
Mhm.
The car, and they lied on us this past Friday night.
And I was going to talk about both of those. In a car situation, tell us a little bit about that car situation.
I don't know nothing about it. I was on my way home from work when I got the phone call.
And was it supposed to scratch her car or something of that nature?
Yeah, she told my child that you and your effing father
Uh-huh.
scratched my car.
Are they on drugs or alcohol? Because they really.
No, they drink. They drink.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's not important, because if you say they drink, that's appropriate for the
Yeah.
culture. But so you get a phone call saying that she's now accusing you of scratching up her car. I asked the captain directly, did you get proof of her car being scratched? And he said he does not have that proof. Then you said there was another one.
Yeah, Friday night.
This past Friday.
This past Friday, we
Okay.
were watching a basketball game, and actually, was it Friday or Thursday? This is past week. My husband was on the phone, with the Friday night. So
Came out Saturday when I was at work.
So Friday night we were watching the game. He's on the phone in another room talking. So I hear commotion outside about somebody wanting to F somebody up, and I'm sick of this racist stuff. This white girl ain't going to do this to me. Um, she said, call somebody or bring them to me. I'll pay you $100. So I hear all this. So I mute the TV. So now I'm nosy.
Mhm.
So I peek out the door. I see a couple further down the block. Um, and the woman was on the phone saying all this stuff, and she was like, "For real, this racist people up here, I'm not dealing with this. I swear, I'll pay you $100." So the next morning, Saturday morning, my husband leaves to go to work. My son and I are laying around the house or whatever, hear a bang at the door. So I'm like, who's this? Look at the cameras, it's Wilmington PD. So Officer Flores, Captain Flores comes out, who's the community engagement officer. He comes out. Hi, good morning. How are you? I'm fine. What's wrong? What are you doing here? We got a call last night about you and your husband threatening the neighbors, saying, or we put a hit out on them, is what the captain assigned to our area said. Matt, whatever, I don't know his last name.
Mhm.
So I didn't know that until yesterday when I had the phone call with him. But Officer Flores was like, "Yeah, well, I'm here because they're stating that you and your husband was calling people to come by and beat them up and this." And I said, "That had nothing to do with us. I heard the commotion." I said, "My husband was in a whole nother room and I heard it, muted the TV, peeked out the door, stepped on the porch, came back in, told him. We both came out and looked at the commotion and then we went right back in." So, went through the video camera footage on both the cameras. So then I said you can hear them, but you can't physically see their bodies. Sent that footage to Flores. And then yesterday, the captain for our area called my husband and myself. Well, I want to discuss some things with you guys or whatever. So first went into Miss Wolishin stated that we were smoking weed, playing loud music. Then he went back into the lady Jody told them, reported Friday evening that my husband and I had called and put a hit out on them. And he was like, "Well, Officer Flores handled that, good. We seen a video of a man and a woman." And I said, "Oh, well, so it wasn't me." "Well, I've never seen you per se. However, Officer Flores seen it and seen the video and cleared it up and let them know that was something totally different. Didn't have anything to do with you guys. The people weren't associated with your house." I said, "Oh, so someone else experienced racism in the neighborhood and they just blamed it on us
Right.
and said we put a hit on them." So,
Wait, stop there for a second. Just remember your thought. Please pay attention to what she's sharing. Pay attention to the hell that they are living in. Someone else, and I would like to know who that person is. I hope they would come or see the show. Is experiencing the same type of stress, and they are making comments, but immediately Jody, the one who works in the Christiana care system, would dare call the cops and say that y'all are doing it. This is just preposterous. This is just horrible.
absolutely. So once he got the footage and assured Jody and her husband that this had nothing to do with us, that was the last that we had heard from Officer Flores. And then yesterday, the captain for our area, Matt, whatever, I can't think of the last name,
Mhm.
but he contacted us and wanted us to sit down and have a conversation. And absolutely not.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
He sat down and want who to have a conversation.
He said, "I wish that I could almost put you, Natalie, Jody, and your husband in a room so that you all could just hash it out and speak about everything." What is there to speak about? There's nothing to hash out. There's nothing to talk about.
You know what I think?
You need to talk to them, not us.
It's we want to sit down and talk it out because y'all have so much proof.
Yeah.
So now if we could just talk it out, we can let everything go away. But everything is not going to go away.
No,
No, sir.
absolutely not.
Everything is not going to go away. And for those persons who may have reacted out of anger in some of your parts of your life, this is a prime example of why you really need to keep your cool, because now I think the backs are up against the wall. And because the backs are up against the wall, it looks like they're looking good. They didn't react. So let's just get in the room and have a kumbaya moment. No, sorry. That is not going to happen. That is not going to happen. That is not going to happen. And as a matter of fact, Mr. Torres, then if that is not going to happen, then what do you think should happen?
I want justice, and I ain't gonna stop till I get it. Because if she was on the other foot, I be sitting around going crazy right now.
Yeah, in a jail somewhere.
Absolutely.
Do you know how many African American Latinos have been lied on and now they sitting in jail? Do you know how many cases that were put on them? And I really, before this show, because we had so much going on, I was not able to get all my data together real quickly. But I'm going to, in few shows to come, that people who the cases have not been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, but they are sitting in jail because some person. You saw what happened in New York City, where this Caucasian woman was lying on this brother and basically almost got through it unless somebody had did the recording that stopped it. I reminded the chief today on 3rd Street just a couple years ago. There was a black African-American male who was yelling at an older white woman. And while he was yelling at her, the cops pulled up, arrested him, and he went on to jail or down to the wherever they take you at. Huh?
Down the turnpike.
Down the turn. Okay. But this woman, we got on tape. Why haven't she been taken down to the turnkey? What do you say?
Turnkey.
To the turnkey. How come we have different rules?
Yeah, absolutely.
He said, Mr. Torres says he wants justice. Well, what justice for what? For discrimination. Is there a policy in the state of Delaware? That's why the Attorney General going to have to return my call at some point. But is there a policy that talks about racism, discrimination? Oh, there is.
It is.
But when you own the policy, it ain't.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things we want to talk about. What about false accusations, filing false police reports? What about filing false statements to the city? Everything was verified because they took her at her word, but she lied.
And I ain't break not one city code.
And you, when you say what does he want? Justice. We named two things. He wants justice for harassment. How do you call a person a piece of stew? I can't use that word, but don't say it. But how do you call a person a piece of defecation? I'm trying to find the right word. Somebody's laughing at me, but how do you do that? What is in a person to me? But that is harassment. How do you stand at the bottom of a person's steps, wait for him to come up the street, and treat him as if, oh, I've been missing you? And then when he pay her no mind, he walks into his house with his dog. She calls him all the names that she called him and back up what she said because she called the city. And all these things she said she was going to do, she did it. He wants justice for harassment. What else do he want justice for? He wants justice for profiling. They thought he was an immigrant, an illegal immigrant. I'm sorry. What was the purpose of questioning him about whether or not he has his papers? They didn't do that. They didn't do that. Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Inside my house.
Inside the man's house.
Yeah, then I wonder, did they even ask her for her ID? Or
No,
to
she's noted in
verify?
the community. She probably funds some of their campaigns. So, why would I have to ask her? She's a noted one. But it doesn't give her the right to even if, let's say the landlord didn't rent it to you, or did rent it to you, or gave it to you, gift it to you. Is it her business?
No, it ain't.
And that's why I am continue with this case, and I'm not going to let it go. All too often in the African American Latino community, we are people full of grace, mercy, and we forgive. And I'm not telling you not to have grace. I'm not telling you not to have mercy. I preach that every Sunday. But what I am telling you is we cannot forget, and we have to allow justice to occur. Having to sit down with Miss Natalie and Miss Jody is not the end of the story. Christiana Care is going to have to answer for this because I'm going right at them. Because there's too many African Americans who get chemotherapy that she's administering it. And how do we know she's not racist and not giving them poison? How do we know this? How do we know that this woman was the assistant district attorney and a part of the child services program, and people lost their children and lost their freedom because she undercuttingly created the problem? This is much larger. And for the city and Mr. Mayor, I have not come at you at all because you know what? This is not totally at your foot right at the second. It will be shortly. Because I don't understand how the city of Wilmington, and I'm waiting for Mr. Boykins to return my call, can come out to this woman's house in the middle of the night and question her when they could have just checked to see if there was water somewhere. They could have checked by calling the water department. They could have checked to see if the electric was on. But that's all harassment at the hand of Miss Natalie, the attorney. What does he want? He wants justice. He wants justice. Not an apology. We saw what the Bar Association did. He wants justice. And I think everybody who's listening to me, be prepared, because I think at some point we might have to close down some streets. We might have to close down some major arteries. We may have to. Because if he doesn't get justice with all of this proof, then those who stop his justice is as racist as she is. Yeah, I said it. I'm here to represent it, and I'm not taking it back. We'll be right back. And we're back. I just wanted to, before we go into this final segment of this, I'm serious about what has occurred. And I'm grateful that Torres has decided not to retaliate, but to allow the system to work. That's why we're going to hold the system accountable. I want you to hear some of the exchange that Mrs. Torres had with the captain. When I viewed this audio, I was very concerned that there's too many people, and I'm not saying he is one, but you'll have to make that decision. But there are too many people who are trying to cover up for her, meaning the lawyer, than trying to bring justice to this situation. Listen to this real quickly.
I've been in touch with Commissioner Boykin, and it's my understanding that whatever relationship you have with Miss Rachel is appropriate, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna when I call them back, number one, a couple of things I want to articulate, and I said this to your husband, I'm gonna say it to all parties, is do not engage, and I know this is more towards them than it is you. Do not engage in any conversation with each other, right? And that's continue to call the police if there's some crime that you think is taking place. But I don't want when you get to the point, and this is more towards like Miss Wallishin, you can't put your camera up and start bad-mouthing somebody. And I think that she's doing it because she thinks that if she captures you guys coming in and out and shows license and inspection, that you're not supposed to be there and that you actually are living there.
Well, she's false reports with L&I, and L&I has found nothing with that. So L&I has done everything. We've complied. That we have electricity, we have running water, and we have all of these things. So, and at the end of the day, even if we didn't have electricity, we can live in a house without electricity. Just we have to have water. However, we have all of this stuff, and you're continuing to harass us. So I don't care about going to jail, and I don't care about dying. But my kids, you will not address. And all he was doing was taking out the trash, and you're alleging these things. I've sent video footage to Officer Ricardo Flores. I've given video to Officer Downings. Officer Potts was the only one that didn't ask us to send the video footage to him. He did take a picture on his phone of the video footage that he physically watched that night. But at this point, you're stooping to an all-time low. And for you to be a lawyer and...
Was this the lawyer that approached your kid? Or
this was the lady.
This was a different name,
Jody. Right? Her and Natalie are friends. Natalie actually called her up as the lawyer's cussing me and my child. As Jody's cussing me and my child out. Natalie, the lawyer, called Jody over to her home. This is my property. You can come over here. And they both tried to act as if they were going to gang up on me. And I showed this to Potts, and nothing was done.
Look, I put myself in everyone's shoes. Don't get me wrong, and I don't envy the position you're in. I know
I'm sorry, because I know you said you put us in your shoes, but if you're not a minority and no offense, no disrespect, you could never be in her shoes. You could never understand. For her to constantly tell us and to jump out, Natalie, this is the lawyer, jump out all hours of the night, if we're coming or going, if my husband's working late or if I'm working, where you're jumping out, you're following us through the backyard, you're harassing us early morning to where my 14-year-old is petrified. He goes to sleep with a baseball bat. Like, there's no reason why that my child should have to live like that.
I got you. Yeah, remember.
So, I get what you're saying.
But
I understand.
I have to be able to look at things also behaviorally. Like, and I deal with all, and I can tell you this, obviously, with the predominant race in the city of Wilmington is African American. I deal with all races. So I can understand, because I deal with this a lot, just the different dynamics, right? I'm never going to be able to say I see things through your eyes, ma'am.
Yes.
I don't want to even try pretending I can, right?
Right.
But, in listening to different stories, and obviously there's a big, I cannot have Natalie going out videotaping you, calling you guys pieces of shit. Obviously that is wrong.
Yeah, rodents, pieces of shit. Yep. You don't belong here. Like, absolutely, it's crazy.
And this is what I'm getting at. The tension that you guys have right now, I need to find a way to resolve it, and I don't. It's probably hard to see the outcome of this. But we have to find a way.
So the way to be resolving it would be to speak to Natalie and the other lady to let them know that they can't live in the world by themselves, and if they don't like people of any color besides Caucasians, then they need to find a farm and move there themselves, or find a excluded place to where it's just them.
You know what's a shame, and I say this, and I don't think I fully ever have some perception on this perspective until time goes on, but I almost can't wait until, and one of these days we will, until we are all one race.
Yeah.
They used to call us the melting pot, right? We're all a bunch of cultures coming together, and we used to pride ourselves on that. And now we've come a little bit away from that, but ultimately we are all still a blended race, and we're all still engaged. I work with some of the best races and cultures and genders in my department, so I know there's so much good that comes from diversity, right? I cannot wait until we're all one race, so then we can put this all on the fucking bed. And I say that very bluntly, but I say it truthfully, is that at some point, we got to get back to just dealing with behavior. And we should be able to, as neighbors, disagree on stuff and do it cordially, and understand that we can agree to disagree. Now, we should never threaten each other. Don't get me wrong there, right? But at some point, you have to be able to have a conversation with your neighbor. So let me ask you this. Would you be open, you already brought it up, but would you be open to having some kind of meeting with your neighbors to see if we can kind of air some things out, or do you think that we'll be able to handle that?
I'll let y'all handle that, because at this point, from the stance of it, I don't think that she's gonna change, and there's nothing really to discuss, because if she can apologize to the Office of Disciplinary Committee and say that she regrets acting in the manner in which she did, and it'll never happen again, and it's continually happened after that, it's nothing to talk about, because it's embedded in you. This is who you are as a person, and at this point, we've given you opportunity to speak or to say whatever, because we haven't been the aggressor. We've been trying to diffuse the situation. Even when the police came, Officer Brown and somebody else, I can't think of his name, when they came, they, spoke to us, they spoke to her. That was an opportunity given then for you to speak and say whatever.
After you made that complaint, has she kind of been keeping to herself or no?
No. Nope. For a while she was, and then, so she does, it's a cycle, like every couple weeks or so she'll come, and then she'll just explode again. So it's like she'll explode every couple weeks, and then it'll be calm. She'll be not at the house, or she'll come, she won't say nothing, she'll just continually stare at us and all this other stuff. Or she'll come out back if we're out back working in the yard or something. She'll come out there and blast her music over top of ours, and then she'll go back in the house and listen to see what we're doing. Like, it's childish. I've never seen. It's almost as if she, I don't know. I'm just lost for words at this point.
I'm telling you, I think that she got used to having a vacant property where her neighbor was ghosts, and now all of a sudden, you bring some life to it, and she has a problem with it. But the way that she's going about doing it, obviously, is wrong, and I'm going to have a conversation with her. I know that you're probably sick of hearing people having conversations, but I don't know. All I can do as a captain is start reaching out to her.
I just look at it as if it was my husband or I, if the shoe was on the other foot, we would have already been in handcuffs. We would have had harassment charges pressed. All of that would have already been done. We stay there. It doesn't matter. Like, at the end of the day, she doesn't pay the bills there. She doesn't pay the taxes there. She has nothing to do with that residence. So it's none of her business what's going on in there. And you shouldn't make someone's life a living hell because you're that evil.
I hear you, and unfortunately, every part of the city has their own different dynamic, right? You know what I deal with a lot in the area that you live now is people complaining about parking matters, people complaining about they don't take care of their lawn. It's a different dynamic in different parts of the city.
So they're gonna waste this taxpayers' money and the police's money to call somebody because they don't take care of their lawn and they don't park. You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, and I know from my standpoint, I try juggling the most appropriate thing, whether it's license inspection or whether it's up. What I see out of you, and all emotion aside, is there's two neighbors that are in conflict with each other, and again, I almost just want to take both of you guys. I would love to take both of you guys, put you in the same room, and just tell you, air it all out. And I know you don't want to do that, and maybe now's not the most appropriate time, but at some point, if we want to move forward and live here, we have to be able to at least come to an agreement that we have to agree to disagree on certain things, but we're going to live our lives. And I have 3 kids. I have 3 young girls, and I absolutely agree with you that nobody should ever talk to the kid, right? I got you on that one. I know how we can become very defensive for our kids, and rightfully so. However, I don't want you to get in trouble for doing something because I heard you say, all bets are off. I don't care if I die. I don't think at all.
When it comes, so at this point, when I say all bets are off, and it doesn't matter whether it's an orange jumpsuit or 6 feet under, is because at the end of the day, this is someone that I, like you guys, serve and protect. As a mother, our nurture is to serve our children, to serve our family, to protect our family as a mother. So to have my child put in a situation where he's already statistically doomed by society because he's a minority male, but the fact that it's reversed, he's an honor roll student, never been in trouble, never had any issues, and already deals with life as it is, as being a minority male, a young male at that, and then the world that we live in today, to have it to where you're put in a situation where you can go outside and play. You don't have to worry about gunfire. You can play on your bike. You can go to the basketball court. And to have all of that taken away from you because there's a racist person next door is not acceptable. It's really no forgiveness when you're dealing with someone. You're messing with your child. That is just like
you have put your kid in so many opportunities to be successful. I don't need to tell you this. You already know this. For your kid to be an honor roll student, for your kid to be living in a decent area, these are all things that are you. You did this, right? So it can all be for nothing if in a moment, you make some reaction that goes south, right? So that's part of, and you know that.
And I get what you're saying with it.
Your kid is making sure that in moments like this, and I tell you right now, I told you, I work with some of the best minorities in our department because they have families. The families are the biggest support system, and in my opinion, the biggest arrow that's pointed in the right direction comes from family. And you're doing that. And it's in moments like these that you come out and you figure out, hey, you know what? Sometimes there's some stuff discipline involved, and let me deal with the knuckleheads on the other side. And you got to just somehow fucking trust me. And I don't know how else to put it, but please do me a favor. Continue to do what you've been doing. Stay calm and call the police.
Yeah.
Everyone says that's egos. That's all egos. And the way people feel is they get these big egos about them, like they're untouchable, right? And that's the part that we need to be able to control on all different levels. And I tell you right now, at the end of the day, most of the time, someone always ends up on top. But there has to be somebody that ends up on the bad side of things. And if that's her, she also has to figure out how to take that in consideration and get her ego in check. And I'm hoping that I can get to that point. So you got to bear with me and do things the right way. And do this myself.
We have been bearing. We have been February. We're down at the end of May. We've been more than patient. I've kept my husband calm. I've been calm, and we still are yet, where we are. So We'll see what happens at this point.
I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna talk to everybody. I'm getting everything. I always give everything a fair look, right? If somebody's doing something wrong, whether that be on their side or on your side, I'm gonna be upfront and just be like, I'm gonna find out, because I'm a captain with nothing to do right now.
Right.
Try help mediating this issue and to look for the right and wrong, right?
Right. Absolutely. We don't use drugs, period. So it's not even in our preference, or our drug, our high is God. So unless it's God or communion bread or wine, it's not us. So.
Yep, and that makes me happy, obviously, because the best people deal with stress when they have God on their side.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've leaned on God a million times.
Well, that's the only thing. It's been the grace of God, my mother and her pastor, who has kept us grounded, and my mentor, who has kept us grounded during this trying time.
Again, please call 911 if there's any emergencies, and then you can shoot me a text if you do that, and I can at least create this file. I'm building everything up, and I'm going to start to work my way through mediating all this stuff.
Okay. And that's where you'll put whatever you want to put in that segment. Okay. And we're back. Man, that was the conversation you had with the captain. You made it clear that he cannot feel what you feel because he's not in your shoes.
Absolutely. He's not a minority. He's not a minority. He could never understand what we as minorities go through. So you can say that you're being empathetic or sympathetic about it. However, you could never understand what our day-to-day life is.
Yeah.
And not just that, that the fact that not only was my husband been tortured from February 16th until recently, but now you have my minor child involved.
Yeah.
And as a woman, we are the backbone to our family. We're the glue that holds the family together. So we nurture, we protect, we do everything. So naturally, I explained to him that to have a sit down and conversation or powwows, if so have you want to call, that's not going to happen. We have been more than willing and patient, and she's had every opportunity to offer an apology or to just leave us alone.
Right.
And you chose the other way. And I told him she's flat out, in my opinion, she's a flat out racist. It's embedded in her. She's not going to change. This is who she is as a person.
Wow.
And your conversation needs to be with her and Jody, and basically told them if they feel as though they can live in the world by themselves, then they need to go find some land, a farm, and move together and just stay
Just for their own land. Yeah.
where they are. I said, because at the end of the day, we all bleed one color and we all bleed red, and enough is enough. You guys have to, well, I want to work on it. I want to get it together, especially if you guys are going to remain neighbors. We want to kind of get each other to talk to each other. No, we don't have to talk to her. We haven't bothered her or anyone else.
Do y'all hear this? Yes, we do want peace. I agree. We want peace. But you know what? You know how you get peace? By bringing justice. That's how you get peace. If Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chief, Mr. Captain, if you want peace, let justice reign. If you really believe that peace is what we want, let justice reign. I mean, to sit down and have a talk does not. She has, in my sermon on Sunday, of which y'all were here for a nice portion of it.
Yes.
I opened my sermon by talking about no learning without burning. It takes devastation to give good education. If you don't show her that her behavior is wrong, she will continue to do it. And the next time she won't meet the new version of Eli. She might meet someone who's not as reserved and disciplined as he is. It's important that we pay attention. And I'm not going to let this go. And we're not going to let this go. We're going to, even if I don't air it next week, I'm going to continue to do my investigative work, and I'm going to keep this community updated, because after a certain amount of time, then we're going to have to take another level to deal with this. This is not a rocket science situation. The proof is all in. They did their homework. They maintained their dignity and allowed themselves to be called trash, rodents. I can't even say the other word. They allowed that to not that they permitted it, but they allowed it because they didn't react. And for us to not, those who have power, react to this, not acceptable. So, Mr. Mayor, as well as Commissioner Borkins, as well as the chief, justice is what has to reign. But who I'm really holding the fire to is going to be the chief. Not that, and I had a good conversation with him today, and I felt I like him. I do. I like him. I believe he has a good vision for where he wants to take the police department. But if this does not get resolved in the appropriate manner, which he assured me it would, he didn't tell me what the appropriate was. He just said it will be handled. It's being investigated. But if it does not get handled in the appropriate manner, then we will definitely get into good trouble. One of the mentors of the African American community was famous for saying that. We will certainly get into good trouble because while many of us are polished and we have left the hood, the truth of the matter is the hood has not left us totally. And for Mr. Torres to be as reserved as he is, and Mrs. Torres, because I'm grateful for them. I don't know if I would have had the patience. Let me, before I take too much of the time, I got a couple questions. First, your son. You said he's doing all right. This was a better week for him. He's a straight A student. He's a good kid. We saw him getting very frustrated and tired with them. But there's another element, and some people may think this is I'm joking, but I'm serious as can be. How's the dog doing?
Dog's on vacation.
The dog's on vacation.
Yeah, I sent him down south because it's to the point where I don't even walk through the neighborhood.
Wow.
I still got doggy bags sitting on top of my radiator.
Wow. You had to send your dog away?
Yep, still got his bed in my dining room.
That's crazy.
Yep.
We who have dogs and animals, we love our animals. And our animals sometimes are our safe haven because we can talk to them and they tend to act like they understand us. And we saw that video when you were walking your dog and it seemed like y'all had a bond. And you mean you had to send your dog away?
Yes, I did. I got tired of every time I go outside, walking and just I feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And he's like my therapy. I would take long walks. When my wife would call me, "Where you at?" I'm up here by Tower Hill walking.
Wow.
Yeah. We take our stroll every Friday when I get off work, but I just go to work and go home. I don't even want to go outside like that.
This is not good. This is why Mr. Torres and Mrs. Torres are saying they just want justice, not an apology, because an apology does not excuse the behavior. You broke the law. You've crossed the line. And as smart as she thinks she is, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. We have you on tape. What is the city going to do? What is the police department going to do? Let me give you an all opportunity to share anything that you all want to share. Mr. Torres, I'll let you go first. Anything you want to share at all. I know your favorite line is I'm tired. I'm tired.
I just want justice.
You just want justice.
And I ain't gonna stop till I get it.
And I'm with you.
If I got to march, if I got to do what I gotta do, I'm gonna get it.
And he's not threatening to do anything violent. He's going to do everything civil, and there is a disruption that can happen civilly. As a matter of fact, even if we have to get permits to do it civilly, we will make sure that happens. Because a lot of times when they hear people of color make comments like you just made, oh, he's threatening.
Mm-hmm.
No,
it's not a threat.
No, it's a solidarity promise.
Absolutely.
Mrs. Torres?
Basically, everything that you have stated thus far is justice. When does it become that justice will be served? Because at this point, it's just as they're treating it as if she's above the law.
Mm-hmm.
We were told initially, pull your phone out and record or get cameras. We install cameras, so we have the proof. So it's not just our word. We're not making it up or making accusations as if she did and they come right out and question us. But we have given you all valid proof
Mm-hmm.
and nothing has been done because she is who she is. Give me time. We're investigating. We're investigating. How much investigation has to be done before something is done as far as in the justice system? If it was my husband and I, everyone knows that we would have already been arrested.
There wouldn't have been no investigation.
Mm-hmm.
The
It's like prove
investigation
yourself.
would have
Hmm.
been when we were standing before a judge.
Wow.
That's when our investigation would have started, when we were standing before a judge, not when we went to a preliminary hearing to plead guilty or not guilty. We would have been on trial, and then that's when an investigation would have started. So by that time, our name is already put in the intelligence system. We've already been issued a number and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this lady gets to walk freely in and out of her house without a care in the world, comes home, pops in and out. Oh, I feel like starting trouble today. I'm going to get this neighbor involved. And they keep allowing it. So you keep allowing the harassment and the racism.
Yeah.
So what's really going on at this point? I'm confused, but not confused because you're painting a clear picture of what it is.
Absolutely. As a pastor in this city, I want to first say I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you all have to go through this. We want the world to be loving, full of grace, full of mercy, but the ugliness of humanity is showing its head. Now, did I think you all had the level of proof that y'all had when y'all first had a conversation with me? The answer is no, I didn't. I thought that, your mother was bringing you here because you were angry. I did. You were angry, and you were angry, but angry, emotional, without any facts. When you begin to lay your case out, when I began to investigate, it hurt my feelings. So I'm going to apologize, not just for having you to have to lay out so much, but because the system has failed you. I'm not going to hide that. The system, you all y'all interacted with the police at least 7 different times.
Well, it's up to 9 now.
Okay, let's go 9. But with those 9 times, you only have 3 reports of anything.
Absolutely.
The system has failed you. And then Kobe pointed out in our last show that one of the system errors was the cop didn't even dignify by giving you a name and a number and a order and a case number and just underline non-emergency.
Emergency.
The
Absolutely.
system has failed you. I said this to Chief Campos, and I want to say it to you all. Once this is over, we have to take a look at the system, because if the system was healthy, you would not be harassed for all the months you've been harassed.
Absolutely.
You would not have been profiled for all the months that you've been profiled. You all would not have been disrespected for the amount of months you were disrespected. And of all the disrespect that you all got, when she called you a rodent, that was way overboard.
I mean, I was in shock. I mean, I was stunned. Like, I was like, then I was like, no, I ain't gonna do it.
Well, thank you. That's all I can say is thank you.
Yeah, I was. I mean, I had the rage in me. Then I said,
Yeah.
I can't wait too far.
And that's important. And thank you. And thank you, because you would have that would have been the case. The gentleman who came with Officer Brown, who did not give his name initially, I said that to the captain today. Why not? That has to be a system failure. Why? Because if you ask an officer for his badge number or name, he's supposed to be able to give it.
He was too busy going back and forth with my mom about her being
Racist.
her own homeowner association, and my mother stated no, she's a racist.
Oh,
let's
he was
call
telling you her credentials.
yeah,
Yeah.
she was her own homeowner association, and my mom was like, no, she's not a home. The city doesn't have it. And he was going back and forth with my mother, and I'm looking at him like,
That's
so the
strange.
other officer tried to draw him back, and then my mom said, well, hey, at the end of the day, you might not want to hear it, and you may live around here, but she's a racist. I'm gonna tell you what it is.
Mm.
So,
And your mother's quiet normally.
yeah,
But she don't mess with my
absolutely.
children because I see her in church. She's very quiet. So,
Behavior,
yeah.
doesn't like
Oh
confrontation.
yeah.
My
She,
mom is not,
But she saw it, and she saw them covering for her.
yeah,
And that's not right. And who's the Natalie? I can't
Wilson.
pronounce her name right, so I don't even try to pronounce it. The attorney woman who has a firm that she's the main principal of, and Miss Jody. I'm going to talk to Christiana Care, and I'm gonna talk to even the bar. I'm gonna do the rest of my research. I haven't finished mine yet, and I want to know why she's covered. I want to thank both of y'all again. This is not your last time being here. We're gonna see what next week brings. And we're going to see if you need to come back or if I just need to do an update, I'm going to do it. But what I will not do, and you can take my words on this, I will not desert you. All too often in this city, it happens.
Absolutely.
I will not desert you. If all I got is this one platform, I'm going to use this platform to let the people know that you all did what was right, but the system failed you. And the system has to get better or we're going to shut the system down. We'll be right back. And we're back. Interesting show today, and I am really disturbed. I ended the show by talking about the system has failed them. We in the African American and Latino community have certainly seen this over and over again. There are two justice systems, one for people of color and another one for those of a Caucasian race. We have to stop this. If you say there is no racism in the city, then why don't you treat everyone as equal? If these two individuals would have retaliated against this woman, all we would have heard is how this poor little white woman was hit by this big old burly Puerto Rican man. Or how this ghetto woman comes into a Christine neighborhood and beat up this Christiana beautiful caremaker. We have to stop this. We have to stop it. And I call on every person who watches this show to keep your ears tuned. The system is not going to fail them. We have to speak up when our people are right. The good thing about me is I don't allow people to buy me chicken dinners. I don't take money from people. I try my best to live a clean life. They can't come to me and say, you keep talking, we're going to do this. What I need you to do is I need you to help me follow this. And when we call for there to be some action, I'm going to need your help. This is a perfect case of outright overt racism. There are too much of rodents to live in a community that they deem that these rodents should not live in. She called him that. She called him a big piece of sugar honey iced tea. That's the way my grandmama used to put it. Unacceptable. How can I praise God in church and step over my brother and sister who is treated this way? Her child, honor roll student. The dog now has to be sent down south because we don't want any kind of rumors that the dog is doing wrong or that he's out there doing something against the community. This is unbelievable. They have a right to live in freedom. And if the 8th district think that they are different from Wilmington, they need to leave Wilmington. Dr. King said, we should be able to live anywhere our money can afford for us to live. And that is an inevitable truth. Until the next time we get together, may the Lord God bless you real good.